probably like 15 minutes, but we are talking about the Pittsburgh 6 escapees today. Um, I know last time we talked about the Texas 7 last time, but this time it's Pittsburgh 6. Um, this is kind of similar to this, but not. They were 6 inmates, and they were from the Western Penitentiary in Pittsburgh, which is they made this like a notable event in true crime history. The escape was led by Nuo Pontes, who was the mastermind behind the plan. The escapees managed to tunnel under the prison walls and made it as far as Texas before being caught and returned to prison. The incident sparked a nationwide manhunt and has been featured in various documentaries and TV series, including History's Greatest Escapes with Morgan Freeman and Conquering the Wall. It's also been on I Almost Got Away with It, too. They're called the Pittsburgh 6. The escape remains a significant part of Pittsburgh's criminal history and has been subject to various media outlets and documentaries.
So what did they dig the hole with?
They took different
spoons,
different things, because they from my understanding, they went and they had power tools and stuff. They were able to get power tools
in prison.
Yeah, because they worked in the tool place, whatever you call it.
Jackhammer and
they got all kinds of stuff. And
wow.
They had people, like, they were taking turns and stuff, and they had, people were keeping, like, lookouts and everything like that with them. And they were doing, some prisoners worked unsupervised on a pipe installation project for as much as an hour at a time, and one guard said the project was in a cellar under the prison machine shop. They did 6 of them tunneled out of maximum security prison and used a jackhammer and other prison power tools, along with blueprints of the place. The guard said. Well, 2 of the men.
Guess you can get anything anywhere anymore.
Were convicted killers. Apparently, used tools assigned for use by inmates working on a steam pipe installation project, according to the guards who spoke on the condition of it. Timothy Collins, spokesman for the state prison, refused to say what tools were used in the breakout Wednesday for the 115-year-old prison. Collins said all power tools are strictly supervised and must be signed out. He declined to say how the inmates might have gotten the items. The fugitives and experienced welder among them were still on the run at the time when all this was going on. That's crazy. 6 of them. That's like the Texas 7.
Had to have been pretty creative to do it.
How do I get this one? Yeah, they did a really good job, I can tell you that.
Says they dug 40 feet from the prison's machine shop cellar under the wall to nearby road, using tools like jackhammers, leveraging access from an inmate staff team. So there was quite a few people in cahoots with them.
Oh yeah.
They stole the car and fled.
It was a daring and well-planned operation that led to the nationwide manhunt. They were dubbed the Pittsburgh 6, and were Andrew Heim and 5 other inmates who managed to tunnel out. An escape was orchestrated by a prison buddy who discovered a tunneling method, leading to an investigation to the prison's security and escapees' motivations. That's crazy. I mean, can you just imagine um how they talk about it, how they escape from the prison?
So how many days were they on the lam?
Um,
It just says days. It doesn't say how long.
let's see if I can. They used the hand. God damn it. They stole the. Why is this not coming up like it was before? Oh, that's it. Trying to see who were. Okay, Pittsburg. Um. Now, okay, the former superintendent Western of self-escapee. Okay, Nuno Ponte's cellmate Western Penitentiary. 6 men led by the mastermind of Nuno Ponte's. Um, they. I am so surprised they were able to escape like that. Um, Nuance Pontes, he also had 17 seconds to take a makeshift key, sneak into a restricted area undetected, and test that his key fits the padlock. The padlock that's locking the door to freedom. 17 seconds can make a break or escape. And apparently he did that. he was a pretty good mastermind, apparently. Um,
Says they made it as far as Texas before being caught.
wow. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so oh. Yeah.
Nothing wants to.
I'm not understanding why. Sorry, guys. Our notes aren't showing up like they were supposed to here. I'm not understanding that. Um. But the Pittsburg Six, they did escape. They went to a hotel room. They stayed there for a little bit, and they ended up getting some drugs. And they excuse me, they ended up getting some drugs and stuff like that, and they I'm not for sure if it was like heroin or what it was they were doing. But they were doing some kind of drug, and they were all, feeling good and everything. And I guess one of them, he had a fake eye, one of them, and I guess he was hallucinating real bad, and he was gonna. They felt that he was gonna blow their cover, so they ended up dropping him off at, I think it was a train station or a bus station. They dropped him off at, and they ended up getting him and trying to ask him. They ended up calling the police, and they went there, and they ended up trying to ask him questions, but he just wasn't telling where they were. He kind of gave them where they were, but not really. Um, um, for some reason, it's just not. I don't understand. When we had this last time, it's just not.
There you go.
Did you get it? Right here. Okay. So, Andrew Heim, when he was emerged from the hole in the ground during his escape from the Western Penitentiary in 1997 in January, he may not have cared, but it was 15 degrees outside, and they were pouring. They were all pouring sweat. It was unbelievable. The adrenaline rush didn't wear off until he was halfway across Ohio. Heim, then 27, was in the third year of a 4 to 15-year sentence for a string of auto thefts and related charges. Today, out of prison since January and standing outside the rust-colored door he exited into in a rush 8 years before. He seems unmoved about it, but let's see. After 123 years of operation, Western Penn was closed in January in favor of more modern prisons in other countries. What? Heim was the first to emerge from prison and talk to local press about the episode, which lasted 12 days. He wants to tell a story. He says, just to show people I'm not a crazy person they portray me to be. I'm not a violent person. I still get funny looks from people who know me or recognize me. The tunnel, according to the media, was 15 feet deep and 40 feet long and dug beneath a prisoner's engineer office where one of the inmates worked. One prison guard reported finding everything from a hydraulic jack to dust masks in the hole. That's crazy. That's, they even got dust masks. Oh, you found, let's see. I just went along with them guys. Heim said one of the other escapees, two murders serving life sentence. Carmen Keller, then 36, and George Conrad, 66, Leslie Kevin Billingsley, 30, serving 23 to 77 years on these several charges, including assault and robbery. Thomas Berkelbaugh, 48, 10 to 20 years for robbery, and Nuno Pontes, 30, 10 to 24 years for burglary and other charges. So they made sure they had people that knew what they were doing. Um, yeah. Anyway, wait. So on the day the escape, Heim said he got out of his cell. Oh, that's big, right there. That's yeah. 6:30 a.m. They let certain workers out early. He recalls. I worked in a laundry at the time, and he said a couple other guys worked in a maintenance office. One worked in laundry with me, and another had a fake hospital pass. It wasn't hard. You could do what you wanted at the time. The competency of the guards made it possible, or the compliancy of the guards. It wasn't no big plan or nothing. Once you got up in the morning, you didn't think about it not working. We met up under the machine shop building, and we all went to the crawl space. Heim and four others waited half an hour for the last escapee to show up. It was 110 degrees down in that tunnel. I think Kevin Billingsley went first. I went right behind him, and as he was coming out of the hole, he stepped on this brick, which lodged into the dirt. When he boosted himself up, it came loose and fell down on me and hit me in the head. I think maybe Carmen Keller came through the next, then Tommy Berkelaw. His glass eye popped out in the tunnel. He spent a few minutes down there looking for it. It was comical. You mentioned your eye popping out. Hang on, I gotta find my eye. The six emerged inside a prison building. Its garage door was not alarmed and slid open easily. That led to a courtyard. Its walls topped by barbed wire and patrolled by a video camera, but the door to the outside was held shut by a simple latch. If they would have had a good deadbolt on that, we might have been stuck for a while. Heim says. Besides digging implements and flashlights, the group had secured blueprints and duffel bags full of tools. Western Penn prisoners were allowed to wear civilian clothes at the time, and the group was hoping to be mistaken for workmen once they saw daylight in this heavy industrial part of the woods run along the Ohio River. We walked across the street in the parking lot. We walked right across the street to the parking lot of a moving company. He says, we spread the blueprint on the hood of a car. I went in and stole the car for the getaway. We drove up north side and tried to find somebody who had been in with us. Who was that? He just smiles. Hem, now 35, lights up visibly at the description of another vehicle he stole along the way west in 1997. A custom van, captain's chair, TV in it, so we could watch up on the news. Damn. These people know how to get that. Yeah. There was nothing about the fugitives on national television. Nothing in USA Today the next morning either. They stopped in an Illinois motel first night near St. Louis the next. And then we had the old man go in and rent rooms, Heim said. They figured convicted killer Conrad, a senior citizen, looked the least harmful. Where did the group get the money? We've got to leave that part out, Heim says. The next day, they were in Houston, Texas. Kevin Billingsley had people down there, friends who were helping us, he reports. My final destination, I was thinking maybe San Diego, Southern California, right on the border. Funding their freedom was a series of robberies. Wasn't in Hein's plans, he said. That wasn't me. I was a car thief, but I wasn't no stick-up man. I didn't bust out to rack up 100 new cases. Well, you got an escape charge. It's like 15 extra years automatically, I think. In Houston, the group moved from motel to motel every couple of days, once to a trailer owned by Billingsley's acquaintances. His friends were helping us get documentations together to get us all fake IDs, Heim says. They were all doing a lot of stuff on computer. We had birth certificates, military discharge papers, and all that stuff. Did the six men get along? Yes and no. He says there was drug use, methamphetamine use. Everybody was paranoid. I don't think any of us really liked each other. Did I trust any of them? No, not at all. Why would I? Heim was worried about the others giving themselves up all the time, but you knew from the start you really don't think about it till afterwards. Shortly after arriving in Texas, Berkoloff took too much meth. It was meth. I wasn't sure if it was heroin or meth. Heim says the news report at the time described his babbling in the bus station as having seizures on the station floor. He basically lost his mind. He was hallucinating. We dropped him off at the bus station. The next morning he was watching TV and saw that he was caught. We thought he would get on the bus and go to Florida like he was talking about. We knew we was running out of time. Luckily, Berkoloff was so far gone he didn't know where he was at. Nonetheless, Heim believes that Berkoloff will capture. The police now knew their general location, the types of vehicles the group had, and that they were armed. Several days later, Carmen Keller was caught. After miles of a long car chase, Associated Press reports placed him 50 miles east of Houston at the time. Him and Nino Plates were in the car on the way back to the place we were staying when the police tried to pull them over for not wearing their seatbelts. Of all things, Heim says, the remaining escapees watched the television coverage. Ponte is being chased by dogs through a swamp. We were sitting there laughing, Heim recalls. The group didn't laugh after Keller was returned to prison in Greene County. Police soon knew that the group's exact location and identity of those assisting them in Texas. The day we got caught, police followed the people who were helping us for a few hours until we all met in one place, Heim said. The Texas accomplices brought food to the escapees motel on their 12th day, away from the Western Penn. Heim and Billington were in the hallway buying sodas. I had like 4 or 5 cans of Coke in my hand, and Kevin was feeding quarters into the machine. Next thing I knew, I was surrounded by 40 police with guns in my face. I've never seen them coming. If they would have been maybe there 2 weeks, we could have all had our IDs and be splitting up. They were there in 2 more weeks. Yeah. Yeah, another 2 more weeks they'll show up so you guys can get everything planned. I was so wired out and high on meth that it didn't dawn on me until I was in the county jail the next morning what I had gotten into, Heim recalls. Out of the 10 days we spent in Texas, I slept maybe 3 nights. Heim had done coke and heroin in Western Penn, and he says it was the first experience with meth. Luckily, no one got hurt or killed, he adds. Some of the guys didn't have anything else to lose. The trial of the first 4 escapees was a circus, Heim recalls, and he admits, I was a clown, yeah, but I didn't understand the whole point of the trial. I mean, they probably pretty much admitted to what they did. I mean, what are they going to do, give them 15 more years? Like they were, they didn't kill nobody, they didn't hurt nobody. Heim, Keller, Conrad, and Berkoloff were tried February and March 1998, while the remaining escapees fought for extradition from Texas. Heim stuck a red question mark to his forehead during the pretrial proceedings and wrote "Free Andy" on his shoes for the trial itself. After one defense attorneys gave an opening statement, Heim stood and inadvertently confessed, saying, "My attorney just informed me that I have no right to tell why I escaped from prison, that I have no defense whatsoever." He said he was hoping to cite prison conditions as a rationale for his escape. "I'm not saying the cells were too small or the food was bad, Heim told the court. "How does a guy go into prison and pick up a drug habit? Am I supposed to be in fear for my life all the time when I walk around the jail?" Heim's performance caused one defense attorney to ask for a mistrial, and Heim's own court-appointed lawyer assumed that the judge assured the judge that Although an insanity plea had been considered for Heim, psychological tests have shown he was perfectly sane. Well, yeah, they were saying they just did a whole escape. Allegheny County Common Pleas Judge David Cerrone offered to take his testimony about the circumstances of incarceration, but only while the jury was out of the room. Heim walked off the witness stand. Never mind, I don't even care, he said, I'm done.
Hands to the air.
Heim, Keller, and Conrad were all found guilty of escape and criminal conspiracy. Berkaloff, guilty but mentally ill. Pontes and Billingsley were found guilty. Well, yeah, because that dude, took meth, he was all crazy. I guess they'll never know the truth, Heim shouted at his sentencing. He got most of the time of the first four, 2.5 to 5 years, and tacked on to his remaining sentence as a car thief. He's lucky he didn't get 15, because a lot of states give you an automatic 15 years if you even try to escape, and that's not including, I don't think, the extra charges that you got, like if you broke into something, if you stole something, you got an automatic 15 years. Let's see, a few Western Penn employees were disciplined after the escape, and there was much public hand wringing about prison security. The Department of Corrections concluded, it is clear to us that responsibility for escape lay with inadequate and lax operation of the Pittsburg facility. But for blaming the prison conditions for escape, that was bullshit, Heim says. They knew I was just being an idiot, wasting money, wasting time, but there was nothing they could do. It was my right as a defendant. Now that I look back at it, I'm thankful I got 2.5 to 5 years when I could have been facing 7.5 to 15. See, he got very, very lucky. Maybe because his crime previous was a car thief, and maybe that's why he only got so much less, not as much. All told, Heim was in jail from August 1993 through January 2005. Minus those 12 days on the run. Of course, prison, there was no picnic. He says, I've been pepper sprayed, I've been stun gunned, I've been hit with a stun shield a few times, and I probably deserved it because I was refusing to leave the cell or something, but when they do it, they go overboard. Did he think about escaping again? I had, yeah. He says, after they brought me back to Pennsylvania, they kept me in a hole, the RHU Restricted Housing Unit. Solitary for 6.5 years, so my chances were very limited. I went through all kinds of changes. You can only read so much. There's periods where you'll exercise. I got into the depression. I went for probably 2 to 3 months without talking to anyone. There was a point where I couldn't even have a conversation. I'd stutter. Just from not having talked to anyone or talking too fast, just trying to get everything out. Heim says he was first hit with a stun shield after 3 years of the hole. That was probably the most alive I felt in 3 years. That's how fucked up it is. I don't hold no grudges, though, he says, even though I realize it's my own damn fault where I got where I was. Heim now lives with his mother in Beachview, and works at a local restaurant. Wasn't too bright escaping so close to his parole time, he admits with a laugh. Now he'll be on parole until 2013. The hard part is staying clean. It's a struggle. We could just let it go now. If he could return to 1997, would he try escaping again? That's a hell of a question. He says, if I can go back to do it over again, I would just do a few things different once I got out. Wow.
I wonder if they didn't all stay in a group, if some of them would have got farther.
And that's probably a true statement, too.
But he got lucky not getting a lot more tacked down there.
Oh, yeah. All of them did. They're all lucky that they didn't get, the other ones, he got the most time. But I'm really surprised that they all didn't get like an extra 15 years on all of them. That's just totally crazy. they escaped, and then they all end up getting back into prison. Well, the one that went crazy and they dropped him off at the bus station, they deemed him crazy. I couldn't even imagine that. And it's hard to believe, like, some of these people that go to prison, um, some of them, I mean, with some of these that we've done, and we've talked to some of these prisoners and stuff, and we've talked to quite a few people in prison, and a lot of them, like, they've been in there since the 80s, and a lot of them, they just would like to stay where they're at, because it's like, we're in 2026 now. Like, their technology and everything in the world has changed. They wouldn't know what to do. We've had a couple of them that don't even really like the tablets that they have, because it's too high advanced technology for them, because they're used to back in like 84 and the 90s that they
pen and paper.
Yeah, the and then you got some people that just prison is their way of life. Like, they enjoy being there. It's hard to understand why somebody would want to be in prison, but it just I guess it just depends on the
three
situation.
square meals. You got a roof overhead, cable, workout station, job if you want extra goodies.
You get money a month. You get so much money a month through the state, and that's for like hygiene purposes or whatever you choose to do with it. You can get a job, and some jobs pay.
They get out, they don't like it, and they end up doing something stupid just to get back in.
Absolutely, and there's quite a few people that that do that kind of thing, because they can't handle it. They'll start out okay, and then when life gets too tough, they'll just go back in, and that's where their safe zone. I feel that it's just something they like, and there's also people that go to prison and they like it there because they don't have to do anything. Like, why go out and work and be a member of society when you could just go to prison and have people give you money?
Yeah.
They have prison websites now, like sites where you can meet prisoners all over the internet. And, they meet people that way, and people send them they send them money in prison. And they depend on that kind of thing. And, of course, family sends them money if they have family. Some people don't have family, but if they do, family sends them money. And they go, on these sites, and they talk to, like, other different, men, women, whoever, and, they're not talking to just one. So, you got several people sending you money, because people do that. Women send it to men, men send it to women. Like, they do that kind of thing. And they get all this money, so why?
They even got dating sites so they can end up getting conjugal visits.
They do. They have dating sites too.
Pen pals.
Pen pals. You see it on TV all the time, where inmates get married and stuff like that, and in prison and stuff like that, and it's just crazy. And then sometimes they get out, and they meet with the person they were talking to and all this other stuff, and then for some reason it doesn't work out, and then they can't survive on the outside because they don't know how to. They just don't. They've been so reliant on family, friends, and people in prison that they talk to. I wonder what happens though when you're done talking to them in prison and you get out. Do they just, like, wait for you to get out again, or do they keep in contact, or do they just, like, you know what?
They probably just pick up where they left off when they go back in.
That's true.
If they go back to the same prison.
Yeah. Prison's just a way of life for some people. Now, some of these guys on here, they wanted to get out. They didn't want to stay back in. But then there's other people that just
make a life of it.
Yeah, they enjoy it, because you figure, if you say you don't even have family to send you money, but a lot of prison people, the families do support them regardless of their situation, or, what they did, or what they, if they didn't do it, or if they just wanted to get back in there because they can't handle it on the outside. But whatever the situation, they have hustles in there. They have lots of hustles, and they had the waiting. See now the dating sites though. I think the family or friends have to actually put them on that because I don't think they have access to that in the prison. Um, because I've looked at some of we looked through some of the sites where prisoners like want pen pals and stuff, and a majority of it says this is my cousin. He's in for like 6 months for this, or this one's looking for love or whatever. So I'm assuming that friends or family have to put their ad in there to put it out there for them. So I'm and then you see people commenting and all kinds of.
All I know is our taxes pay for them to have computers, tablets.
Oh yeah, they I guess they don't have to pay for. We don't have to pay for the tablets anymore because like families would have to pay for them to get a tablet. Now they just update them and they just give them to them now. Majority of the prisons do that. Now I'm not for sure if all do that, but a majority of them, like California, does that. Um, the freeway killer Tina Monroe. They do. They're updating. I guess, from my understanding, they're updating the systems and everything. So, from my understanding, that they give out tablets now. Like nobody has to pay for those.
We pay for them.
Well, yeah, absolutely, we have to pay for them. But I'm saying they don't have to pay for them. Like the families.
No,
don't.
I'm not. No.
But yes, absolutely. Anything that they get, we have to pay for. They do have to pay for their cable. I think it's like $11 a month or something like that. But I'm sure there's ways around that too. Absolutely, there's ways around that.
Yeah, they got tablets. They got Tubi, Pluto, all those shows you get for free.
They get all kinds of stuff. And like I said, you figure if they have people sending them money all the time, like even if they don't have friends or family and they have a hustle in there, or they're on those web dating sites and they have people sending them money, you figure they're getting, why come out there where you can get name brand clothes and shoes and they have good stuff in prison. You ever see some of the food they get?
I went to one for a job interview and I was floored when I seen how nice they live.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? I have friends that work at several different prisons and they said that it's crazy, like some of the prisons they look like hotels.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just
they got their own Planet Fitness in there, and
basically they got all kinds of
movie rooms and
good stuff. Yeah, because you went to that
prisoners that are learning how to cook, so they get top of the line meals. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, she went inside of one and did an interview, so she's seen.
It was insane.
Yeah. Yeah, she was. We were just talking about that not long ago about how it was inside.
It was very clean compared to what you would expect. They had a building where they got paid to teach canines, and
yes,
it's just crazy.
They have a dog program where you can teach.
You can take canines. College classes there for free. And
see, that's what we need to do.
Finish your GED.
We need to get like a 3-year thing for prison so we can go to get our college degree and get out and get.
It's just
get a job.
crazy.
Ain't gotta have no student loans or anything. Prison is just a big money maker. That's all it is a big money maker. Big.
Then they cry about it.
Well, don't put
Go
yourself
to
in
Mexico
there.
Or something. See some of those jails.
Oh yeah.
Dirt floors.
There's some prisons where there's like 6 inmates in one cell. Some of them are on the floor. They only get just their 3 meals and that's it. They don't get out of the cell for maybe. They take a couple out at a time to get into the shower, stuff like that.
From what I understand, the county jail is supposed to be getting.
They're supposed to be doing
some kind of redo.
Yeah, they're supposed to be taking all this money and redoing the jail. Yeah. Because I guess it's pretty bad conditions in there.
It's really bad. It's got raw sewage coming off the ground, ceilings falling.
Yeah.
It's a freaking cesspool for infection.
Yes.
And that's for piddly stuff. You go to prison where people kill each other and murders and all this stuff, and they live better than people that just got an overnight stay at the county jail. It's sick.
It's yeah. Um,
The Asheville County Jail, they need to just knock that building down and redo it.
yeah, they're undergoing it's like 55,000 square feet with expansion of 209 beds, more than tripling the jail's current capacity. Because basically, you're just you got your stuff lined up
It's
right
just
there.
a bunch of cots.
Yeah, it's just that's all it is. Basically, it's just a bunch
It's
of
an
cots lined
open
up.
forum with a bunch of cots. And
Um,
then you got your smucks that don't even watch the monitors, so by the time you realize something's going on when you got that many people in one room, someone's already hurt.
The
And then you got
expansion.
people and they're getting sick because it's not kept clean.
Well, they're gonna do renovations to the first floor, a new booking area, space for an education and rehabilitation program, special housing and court holding areas. The project is supposed to enhance safety and security and address mental health crisis and provide more efficient operation. I don't know how they're going to even really start that. But it's going to be like over $30 million for it.
Yeah, like I said, it'd be cheaper for them to knock the building down and start over.
Put all those people into a prison for right now.
Because how do you fix
yeah.
all that sewage and plumbing problems that they have there?
Yeah. They would have to. I don't know where they would stick those people at, but they would have to figure something out.
But it ain't like Bayberry, I'll tell you that. It's filthy.
Oh yeah, it's definitely dirty. They talk to the toilets, stuff like that. It's really dirty in there. It's not someplace you want to be. Of course, it doesn't meet. I think. It says the new jail will be built right next to the existing facility in Jefferson, which has served the county since 1978. So they're going to build it right next to it.
Well, we'll see.
We'll see how that's going to be
Just
interesting.
like our roads were supposed to be fixed.
Yeah.
I'm sure the place where the police sit will be done before where the prisoners are.
Yeah, they with the new jail set to be built where the current parking lot is located. Somewhere
But the
about
jackhammer we rented, you plugged in. How the hell did they
extension
have a
cord.
jackhammer and
The extension cord. Because they were at the
40 feet of extension cord?
Well, they probably had several extension cords.
Yeah, but you would think that
they would have
hold
to.
a strong enough current, or somebody would catch on to, hello, you got to sign all that stuff out.
I don't know. I couldn't tell. I think they only needed
and 110 be sitting there digging and hammering away, and God, that's got to be excruciating hard.
I think they only really needed it just to get through like the
But
floor
they're
part.
lucky because it was close to the water. Who's to say they didn't hit a vein and they all drowned down there? No one would have knew.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Absolutely right on that. They are very
a
lucky.
lot of balls to do that.
Yeah. It's.
But I tell you what, if I escape with a couple people, I sure the hell ain't hanging around with them, taking my chances of being seen with hello.
I would stay with
them. They were on the search for 6 guys. Why would you stay together?
I would stay with them long enough to get to our first destination and then branch off after that. I'd want to get as far away from the prison as possible and then branch off. Because
Crazy.
you're going to need some kind of help until you get yourself situated. But once you get, situated and
He's
stuff.
a car thief. He could have got a car anytime and just went his own way.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with you on that. But he was committed to them. They had, they all helped escape, and then he used his part and, steal a car.
Crazy.
Which I think that's just, they planned that out well because they made sure everybody, had a skill that they would need. One, robbed people, one stole cars, they have convicted killers in there, not that they want people to die or anything like that in the process, but, their way of thinking is they have nothing to lose, so, they're going to go all out and try to get out of here.
Well, he's the only one I could find an actual interview with to get someone's side of the story there, not just
That's
what a movie thought happened.
Yeah, if you watch I Almost Got Away with It, they interview some of the people that were there at the time, in the prison and stuff. Like some of the inmates, they talk and stuff. But he talks.
Did they
a
interview
lot more.
any of the idiot cops that just sat there and twiddled their thumbs while all this happened?
I don't think any of them were interviewed like that. But he interviewed on here and stuff because I'm glad we pulled those up. But he interviewed, but the other ones, when you watch the show, it's called the Pittsburg Six. I Almost Got Away with It, and they interview some of them. They tell their side of stories and what had happened and what they did and everything. But I mean, I'm sure they leave some stuff out. They're not going to tell everything.
They were probably told not to talk about certain things.
Well, they probably made a pact not to talk about certain things. But I don't believe that they killed anybody, especially the guy with the glass eye.
Well, at least he found it.
I couldn't imagine. Hang on. And when you watch it, too, it shows...
everything, nobody move.
That's what he did, too. He's like, hang on a second, I lost my eye. And
he goes in your contact.
And it sees him, you see him just duck down in there, and then he's gone for a few seconds, and he's like, found it.
Getting hit in the head with a brick, that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
You're almost to freedom, and you almost get...
Go unconscious down there, yeah. Yeah, and they walk across there, put the blueprints on there like they're, and that's just crazy.
Uh-huh.
I mean, you compare them to the Texas 7, they were a little bit more violent. I wouldn't say violent. Well, yeah,
but
because
these guys seem to have their shit together a little more.
Yeah, and the other ones, they killed, they had guns, and they had all kinds of stuff. They went all out. These guys really wouldn't. They did. I don't think they had much like the other ones did. The other ones, they killed that cop. That's what really set them in. It wasn't even really the robberies. It was the fact that they killed that cop and the way they killed him, and as many times that they shot him.
Yeah, that was overkill.
Yeah, there was absolutely. They could have just, they could have all took off running. That cop would have. I don't think he would have even really done much because he would have been overwhelmed by everybody being there. But just for the, they all got the death penalty, and there's still though the two, and I did contact the one. We worked on that and messaged him, but we haven't heard anything back yet. So we'll just have to. I think it was Murphy that we were trying to get a hold of. Yeah. Of the Texas 7, but we haven't heard anything. We'll have to try and get a hold of that one guy. I don't know if we'll ever be able to get a hold of him, the one that got out.
Feels like lazy Sunday.
Yeah, well, it's a lazy Saturday. The prison system is definitely... Oops, wrong one. The prison system is definitely a moneymaker. Definitely a moneymaker. But they say a lot of the commissary is like gas station food. Like gas station snacks, basically. Like beef jerky. You can get the tuna.
Snicker bars.
Yeah, you can get all kinds of stuff like that there. I mean, you can't get stuff from like that you would get like at Walmart or anything like that, like big meal stuff. But I mean, they're pretty they are pretty creative. There's people that can make. I know people that made cheesecake in prison with their commissary stuff. Like you would be really surprised at what you can make in prison. I mean, it is very interesting how creative these people can make burritos, and you would be surprised what they can honestly make. Oh, they make wet burritos and all kinds of stuff. It's just
I don't know.
crazy.
The one I went to had restaurant style food. It came out presentable. It was all good, and
Yeah,
it looked good quality. So I was like, dang.
yeah. Sometimes the staff eats there too. Sometimes staff eats there, but yeah. I got several friends that work in different prisons, and they tell you all kinds of stuff. You know that go on there. People they get cell phones snuck in there. How drugs get snuck in there, like all kinds of stuff. How they have to do a walk through the yard before it opens up, and all kinds of crazy stuff. Now, there was a prison. I guess one of the inmates had gotten out or whatever, and I don't know what the reason was, or I don't know if it was retaliation or what, but one of the inmates that had gotten out had told that one of the guards was getting like stuff sent in there, like drugs and other whatever stuff. All kinds of stuff. I wasn't sure what kind of drugs or whatever. I can't think of it now. This is a while ago. But anyway, that inmate that had gotten out had told them when the next drop off was going to be and everything. So they had to set up and waited, and they busted that inmate. I mean that correction officer, that staff member, and yeah, they busted him. And he's like, well, I guess I don't have a job now, do I? And I guess I don't have to worry about going back into work. And I'm like, nope. Yeah, so I don't know if that was a retaliation thing. I don't even know if I could even pull that up. I remember, let me see. Uh, um, well, this one, it shows this isn't the same one. But a New York Army National Guard member is facing a felony charge of being caught smuggling marijuana and cell phones into a state prison. It's crazy. There's also like the mental health though in prison too. You know how that goes in prison. Some people do commit suicide in prison too. There's a big mental health thing in there. Um, I don't know how some of the people that I don't know how some people can spend years and years and years in in solitary and just not go crazy, or I don't know. I mean, I guess there's people that spend 15 years in prison. That Krista Pike, she spent quite a few years into. I don't know if she's still in there or not, but she was in like a solitary for a long time. Um, I just don't know how. Besides like letters and stuff like that, I really don't. I don't know how they can do it. Like mentally do it. I mean, it's nice every once in a while, to have, some peace and quiet, some me time, but that's a lot. She spent her 30-year incarceration in solitary confinement. And in 2024, she was moved out of solitary confinement. So that's crazy. Can you imagine her first 30 years in prison? She was in solitary confinement. But she did, I think she tried to escape at one point, too. So, I mean, that could probably be the reason why, too. That's why she was like that. Yeah. But that was with help of a correction officer. What do you think about solitary?
Wasn't there a female that helped someone escape too?
Um.
Female officer.
Oh yes, there was one. The Whites. Uh. Yes, the Whites. I can't think of what it was. We could probably do that our next time. That was a really. There's a movie on that too. Um. I can't remember what it was called. The movie. Where is it at? Where is it at?
Vicky White.
Vicky White. Yes. Um. We could do it on that. Yes. There's a movie on Netflix called Escape Romance. It's Escape Romance. It's called Jailbreak: Love on the Run. That is a very good movie that tells about what had happened and everything. That's also on I Almost Got Away with It too. How she helped an inmate escape. Casey White.
2022.
2000. Yes. Yes. Um. Yeah, we'll have to make that one our next one because that's a very good one too. Vicky White. And Casey White. Oops.
Oh, I need a nap.
Yes, that is a very, very. That's a true story that was very interesting and that was well thought out too. Very well thought out.
I just remember hearing a lot about it at the time.
Yeah, yeah, that has a very, very sad ending to it. Um, but Casey White ended up going back to prison again, and he got life imprisonment with the possibility of parole. But I don't think he's gonna. Yeah, though. But that's a really sad, sad story. But that is a movie you'd want to watch. So you'd have to watch that the movie on that. Our next podcast day will be. Oh, we made it on Saturdays, didn't we?
Sorry?
Was it on Saturdays we made it instead of Sundays, or was it Sundays?
It was Sundays. We're doing it Saturday today because
Okay, yeah.
I got stuff to do tomorrow.
So Sunday, January 25th will be our next one at 6:30. If something happens, we'll put it, on our Facebook page, Pure Evil Inside the Minds of Serial Killers, or it'll be on the K.A. Blasner. But we'll hope to see you guys, or hopefully you listen in on the next one. But the next one will be about Vicky White and Casey White and how they escaped the prison.